Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the Peaceful Solution Character Education Teacher Certification course. My name is William. You can be seated if you're standing, and thank you for the great warm welcome there. And I think we need to start subtitling this, the hour of power, right? The hour of power, because we talk a lot about power, but we should call it the hour of true power, right? Because that's what's being given to all of us. If we'll take that power and we'll use it in our daily life, it can make a huge difference for all of us and everyone around us. So I'm going to be picking up tonight My Choices in My Future, and it's Chapter 7 of the Acceptance Unit. And I'm going to tell you, that last class, wasn't that a great class that Chris gave? I thought that was really excellent. Brought a lot of super great points in that class, and I learned a lot. And I even actually got to thinking, because he was talking about, how these sports stars, they get these big endorsements for wearing and showing products and things like that, and they make a lot more money doing that than they do actually playing their sport. And he talked about Nike shoes, and I got to thinking, I'd sure like to know how much money Nike's making to be able to pay that kind of money to the athletes, because I think they might have more than one endorsing their products. I looked it up, and it said $45 billion with a B, $billion last year in revenue for Nike. That's quite a lot of money. But it was a great class. It was great information, and I'm going to be expounding more on that this evening. And remember, we're in Chapter 7 on page 131, My Choices in My Future. And at the top of that page, it says, everyone makes choices every day. Make sure you can live with your choices for the rest of your life. The Peaceful Solution. Make sure you can live with those choices. Now, the only way you're going to be able to make sure that you can live with those choices is to know about the choice you're making, right? Because how will we know what our choice, the end result of our choices will be if we don't get this education? That only comes from the Peaceful Solution Character Education program. I don't say that with pride. We don't teach pride in the Peaceful Solution. I'm not a proud person. None of us, we don't say that the Peaceful Solution Character Education program is the best program out there out of pride, because we don't even teach pride. We say it with all humility, because first of all, we're very few in number compared to the, 7 billion people out there in the world, 8 billion people now on our planet. But we know from experience and from the results that we've seen with people that are taught the Peaceful Solution, that it changes hearts and minds. It changes lives. And we know what it's capable of doing, and we know what it's going to do. I think Chris touched on that last class about what the Peaceful Solution, we can't think in our mind that, really, this is going to change the world. Yes, it is going to change the world. It's already changed your world in your own environment, in your own life, and it's continuing to change it for the better. So don't ever think, we don't say it's the best just because, we're trying to sell a product. None of us are making money for selling the Peaceful Solution. We know it's the best because we live it every day and we know it works. Okay, so we know that it can help us make the right choices. It can help us make informed choices that are right choices, because it gives us all the information that we need to make that right choice. I want to kind of, let's go to the slide that I have. I want to kind of go over last class where everybody can visually see what Chris covered in his two classes. These are some key points that he covered. And these can be found on the first couple pages of the lesson here, 131 and 132. But he said that knowledge is power. Okay, you keep hearing that. Now, I want to say, knowledge is power because, first of all, information is important. You got to have information, but you got to have the right information. But you remember what we said about true facts and false facts? There's true facts and there's false facts. You have to actually know both. You actually should know both. You know why? Because if you know the false facts, you'll be able to identify the false fact, and you'll be able to know it's a false fact, right? So it's just as important to know that as it is to know the true facts. You got to know both sides of the coin to be fully instructed or fully informed, fully educated. So even the false facts are important to know so you can differentiate between the true and the false. Number two, you have the power to control the choices that you make. We have that power. We have the power. Nobody else can control our choices. We are in control of the choices we make. We're not in control of everyone else's choices. We're not in control of the pilot flying the airplane and whether the pilot's not even really in control of whether that plane might go haywire and end up in my living room tonight, right? I'm not in control of those kind of things, those external forces, but I'm in control of my choices that I make. Okay, now, number three, your choices can be manipulated by external influences or outside influences, things that are taking place to make you feel, think, and act a certain way that you might not even be aware of. And we're going to be talking about that tonight, about this manipulation. Let's go to the next slide because I want to define the word manipulate. It's very important to understand this word manipulate. The word manipulate means to control or play upon by artful, unfair, or insidious means, especially to one's own advantage. Now, that word artful, it just simply means slick or crafty, sly. And that word insidious, I want to really pay close attention to that word because we've covered this before, but we didn't use the word. You might recognize this word insidious from the definition. Insidious means causing harm in a way that is gradual or not easily noticed. Gradual or not easily noticed. And it gives a definition, it gives the example. Most people with this insidious disease have no idea that they are infected. Okay? Remember what we talked about STDs and how you can't see them. You don't even know you have it right away. You think you're okay. You think the peaceful solution, I'm not talking about anybody here, but somebody might think, well, the peaceful solution said I would get an STD if I engage in this kind of behavior and I have premarital sex with somebody. Well, it is true, but does that mean you're going to see it the next morning or the next week or the next month or the next year? Not necessarily. It's a gradual thing. It creeps up on you. It's in your body, but it's incubating, and it takes a while to incubate, sometimes 10, 15 years before you have an outbreak and you realize, whoa, I've got something living in me. I've got a virus. I've got some kind of STD. So remember that word insidious, it's a gradual thing. It causes harm right away, but it's gradually getting worse. Another definition I found online about insidious means having a gradual and cumulative effect. In other words, things are adding up. It's subtle. Remember what the peaceful solution said about subtle influences. Subtle influences are influences that you're not aware of, at least consciously, on the conscious level. But on the subconscious level, it's having an effect. Developing so gradually as to be well established before becoming apparent. It means awaiting a chance to entrap. Awaiting a chance to entrap. Remember the curveballs and pitfalls that are awaiting for us in the peaceful solution? Yes, these negative influences are waiting for an opportunity for us to come along and fall into the trap. That's why education is important, because it's going to help us avoid the trap, right? If you know where the trap is, and you know the snake is in the hole, are you going to stick your hand in the hole? Well, if you're one of those guys that like to chase snakes and, get on TV, one of those programs, where they stick their head in they got the camera already in the hole, so they've already checked the hole out, right? They ain't just sticking their head in that hole not knowing whether there's something in that hole. Okay? But a fool would stick his hand in something that he don't know what might be lurking in there, because he might not have a hand when it comes out, right? It means harmful but enticing. Listen, harmful but enticing. In other words, it's harmful, it's harmful, but man, how could something so wrong feel so right? Right? I think there was a song about that once, when I was growing up. How could something so wrong, the woman sang, how could something so wrong feel so right? How can doing this thing with this person that I know I shouldn't be doing, how could it be wrong when it feels good, when it's so alluring and enticing? That's what insidious is talking about. I want you to keep that in your mind when you see this word insidious. Now let's go to the next slide, because Chris touched on this in the last class about the character unit on page 60, that influences are all around us. It says your values play such a key role in developing your character that you must be aware of how influences affect the things that are important to you. And remember, the things that are important to you are called what? Values. Your values, right? And influence is something or someone that has the ability to affect your attitude, your way of thinking, feeling, and behaving. Okay? Now, key is, it has the ability to affect your attitude, but it doesn't make us make choices. Remember, choices, who makes our choices for us? We make our choices. We make the choices that we make. Nobody else is making our choices for us. But it is important to know, at a very young age, there's some people sitting out here right now that are in elementary school, not just middle school. And this kind of information, this life-saving information that you're being given right now, this power that's being given to us in the Peaceful Solution, can really, really, really make a huge difference in a very short time. And you're if you're 6 years old right now or 7 years old, you're getting ready to be introduced to some things at a very young age that other people were introduced to, that got caught up in it and didn't realize the danger, how insidious this was. They didn't know, because nobody educated them. Nobody gave them a Peaceful Solution course at school. Yes, they learned to read and they learned to write and they learned little bits and pieces of moral character, like, not, to share or not to take turns, take your fair share, be honest, don't take someone's belongings, etc. They're really great at pointing those things out in the elementary school. But, it's not enough. Okay, it's not enough, because there's too many things that are lurking out there, too many traps waiting to trap us. I want to show you an article that came out. I think it was the same day Chris spoke last. He gave his class. It might have been, let's see, it was the 14th of this month, which was, what was that, yesterday? I found this interesting. Pop star Billie Eilish said that porn is a disgrace. It destroyed my brain. This is a 19-year-old singer. She's only 19. Listen to what she says, or listen to the article here. It says, and I only took some excerpts from the article because I think this is really super awesome for young people to hear from someone their age, and somebody that's a celebrity, actually. It says, according to Eilish, she began watching porn at the young age of 11, just 2 years below the average age children are exposed to it, causing severe damage to her brain and her sexual outlook. She says, quote, I think it really destroyed my brain, and I feel incredibly devastated that I was exposed to so much porn, unquote. Eilish said that porn influenced her to push boundaries during her first sexual experiences, saying yes to practices she should have said no to. Eilish further argued that porn unrealistically depicts both women and sex, setting regular people up for disappointment and outlandish expectations. Billie Eilish is just one of many celebrities to talk about overcoming porn addiction in recent years. Now look here. This girl is telling you that she was 11 when she started watching this. Now how do you think she started watching this? Well, the same way the rest of the children are watching it, on their smartphone. And Chris told you last class, we visited schools in South Texas where we used to do internet safety classes with the Peaceful Solution. And when we asked the young people how many of them had a phone, well, about 99% of the hands went up. And when we asked how many of them had smartphones, about probably 92%, 93% of the hands went up. I couldn't believe it. These were second and third graders. When I asked how many of them had a social media account, almost all their hands went up. And I'm like, wait a minute, how's this? You have to be at least 13 to have a social media account. So that means you went online and you deceived, you lied, and you said that you were a certain age and you made an account. Yeah, we did. And you know what was really strange about it? A lot of the teachers were laughing and giggling about it as they were texting and playing on their phone during class. Now, and we had to tell the children, well, you know, that's not honest. You know, and you start being deceitful at a young age and you start lying and tricking and deceiving like that, you're going to start a pattern in your life and it's going to follow you unless you stop doing it. And a lot of them took it to heart. A lot of them said, man, I never even thought about that was being dishonest. I just thought I was just getting an account on the internet. Well, it could lead to other things. Let's go to the next slide, because here's some 20 must-know stats about porn, because this is one of those influences out there, okay? It says, according to a nationally representative survey, 84.4% of 14 to 18-year-old males and 57% of 14 to 18-year-old females have viewed pornography. That is astounding. That's astounding. That's almost 100% of the boys. And it could be higher than that. That's just the ones that said they did. That's a lot of underage exposure to an industry that claims to be adult entertainment. Porn is a global, estimated $97 billion industry, with about $12 billion of that coming from the United States. In 2019 alone, listen to this, the equivalent of nearly 6,650 centuries of porn was consumed on just one of the world's largest porn sites. Let me put that in perspective. What they're saying is 6,650 centuries, which is 100-year periods, right? That's 6,650 years, I guess, something like that, of pornography, worth of pornography was consumed only on one website. This is how addictive and how out of control and what an epidemic porn is. Not everyone thinks it's so, not everyone knows what Billie Eilish just found out. Listen to some of the comments taken from Twitter. Ugh, so much porn. I love the internet. I love when I'm on Tumblr in class and porn shows up on my dash. That means they're watching it in class, at school, with their smartphones. Now you remember, a smartphone is only as smart as the one that's using it, right? A phone isn't smart at all. It's the user that's going to determine whether it's smart or whether it's dumb, really dumb. Okay? Speaking of music, and we're going to why don't you go ahead and turn over to page 132. Remember that influences are everywhere, and Chris covered that an influence is anything that affects the way we think, our interaction with others, and the choices we make, along with the definition I just gave you. Whether or not you're aware of it, you're constantly being bombarded by various influences. Every time we turn on the TV, we're being influenced by the shows and commercials that we see. Every time we walk into the grocery store and we hear the music in the background. Sometimes in the music, I remember the author of The Peaceful Solution told us one time that in the music, or the Muzak, or whatever they're using in the grocery store, they actually started putting subliminal messages, like do not steal, I am honest. And it actually cut down on the shoplifting. To a certain degree, it cut down on a lot of shoplifting to those whose brain frequencies could actually pick it up. Everybody's brain frequencies are different, so some people might not necessarily heard that subliminal message. Some did. And they said it actually cut down, way down. I actually read the article earlier today. It was astounding how much money some of these stores were actually saving by using it. Remember, influences can be positive and they can be negative. We learned that in the character unit. And Chris talked about the advertisers. They're very aware of how these influence people. You know how you know that? They spend billions of dollars on advertising in the Super Bowl alone. The Super Bowl is always like the Super Bowl of commercials. They always put out their best commercials. They spend big money for a 15-second or a 30-second spot on the Super Bowl. And everybody, they talk more about the commercials during the Super Bowl than they did about the game. Usually commercials, no one wants to really watch commercials. They're kind of boring. It's like, man, why do they have so many commercials? But during the Super Bowl, everybody wants to watch them. And they spend big money. Advertisers know that it has an effect, or they wouldn't spend that kind of money. Now, TV, it says in the third paragraph, of course, it's not the only influence. We're also influenced by movies, songs, the internet, magazines, books, friends, and family, just to name a few. Some of these influences are clearly negative. Some are clearly positive, and others are a combination of both. But you know what? Even if it's clearly negative, sometimes we don't say no. And I can tell you, if you see, why don't you go to the next slide? I'll save it for a minute. Let's go to the next slide. I'm going to read something about music from the character unit on the next slide, please. Okay. Page 67 of the character unit, it says, let's talk about music. Can music influence your character? The answer is yes. The music industry is a huge money-making business. There's a key, money-making. And remember back in the definition of insidious, it says somebody doing something sly or crafty to their advantage, to their advantage. Yeah, to their advantage to make a lot of money. That includes the music industry, the video game industry, any kind of entertainment. The bottom line is, like Chris said, to them, the bottom line is money. Money. Profit. They don't think about what kind of an effect it's having on the consumer. They don't quite frankly care. They figure that's your problem. That's what you need to decide if you want to do it or not. It's your decision. Do they make us buy this stuff? Does anybody make us buy it? No, nobody's forcing anyone to buy it. That's why I wonder why a lot of people complain about it, but yet they have it in their house. I remember I had a mom complaining about her children. All they do is play those video games all day. And I'm like, where'd they get them? Well, we bought them. Yeah? And you can take them away. You can let them know that, hey, I made the wrong decision. And you can stop doing that. You can let them know that, we need to do differently. You can do that. It's going to be hard. So let's keep on that slide I was on, please. It says millions of dollars are spent every year on CDs and cassettes by teens like you. From rhythm and blues to alternative, heavy metal, and rock, music is an important part of life and has been influencing people for thousands of years. Music has the ability to affect our emotions, and emotions affect the way we act. Let's read that one more time. Music has the ability to affect our emotions, and emotions affect the way we act. emotions. Emotions like, Peaceful Solution talks about love, the emotion of anger, the emotion of frustration, the emotion of being agitated, irritated. These are all emotions, and music can either agitate us and irritate us. It can be uplifting, or it can be, make us sad. It can make us bang our head. It can make you go into a mosh pit and throw people around, gash yourselves with knives and watch the blood fly everywhere. This is what people do. Chris just mentioned the other day about the concert in Houston, where the crowd surged the stage, and I don't remember how many people got killed. If anybody remembers, yell it out. There was quite a few people that got killed. And the concert continued even as the emergency medical workers were trying to revive people in the audience. The music was still playing and they were still going on with the show. And people were dead. People were dying. Scores of people laying there on the ground, but yet they kept playing the concert. Because you know why? Because it was the attitude. It was the mood. It was the emotion that it was generating. And nobody stopped to think, to control their emotion. When you get a lot of people like that, there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy. Thousands of people. A lot of emotion. Go to the next slide, please. Now, the Peaceful Solution says, don't underestimate the influence that violence can have on your character. I'm going to be talking a little bit about violent lyrics. And I'm not going to pick on any one genre of music, because guess what? Do you know what the most violent music is? It's not rap music. It's country music. Did you know that? Go read for yourself. They say that country music is the most violent music. I would not have thought so, but then again, I don't listen to country music. I feel my IQ drop about 20 points when I have to hear it. When they say that when you play country music backwards, your dog comes back, your wife comes back. Because most of the time they're just singing about how their wife left, or how they're at the bar finding a new love or something like that, looking for love in all the wrong places, all that kind of stuff. It's a joke. Don't go try to play it backwards. Don't even listen to it forwards. It's bad enough, okay? Now, I want you to remember something about this music that you don't think is affecting you. I told you I had a family member that told me that one time. Mom, not me, but my sister. He said, Mom, that's not affecting me. Mom, that's not affecting me, as his belt buckle flopped open and his pants dropped halfway down, and he was sagging his pants, and he was talking like he was from the hood. Right? Listening to the rap, it was called gangster rap. This was in the early 90s when the rap first started coming out. And he was, and he'll tell you himself, it was his life. And my sister would find those CDs and she would throw them away, and she would tell him, don't ever, and somehow or another, he'd keep getting them. Because, there was parental advisories on them, like you see that label on that slide. There was a parental advisory, but you know what? Children still got them. They would just have a friend buy them for them or something. Well, quote unquote friend, right? Let's go to the first slide and let's look at, I'm not going to name the song, I'm just going to give you the lyrics. And these are popular songs, by the way. Can you go to the next slide? Quote, you and your husband have a fight. One of you tries to grab a knife, and during the struggle, he accidentally gets his Adam's apple sliced. No. And while this is going on, his son just woke up, and he walks in, she panics, and he gets his throat cut. Oh my God. So now they both dead, and you slash your own throat. So now it's double homicide and suicide with no note. This is just an excerpt. Remember, this is put to a great beat. Okay? It's put to a great beat. This is music. This is lyrics to music that people sing. It's going into their brain, and becoming part of their heart. It's going into their subconscious and their conscious mind. It's becoming a part of them that they can never get rid of. You know why? Because once you download it, it don't go nowhere. It sticks. Now, let me ask you, I'm going to ask you after I show you the next few. Let's go to the next one. I used to love her, too bad I had to put a slug through her. Dumped her body in the trash like I never knew her. Blood running down the gutter into the sewer. Her body stunk for weeks like horse manure. That's disgusting, but this is lyrics to a very popular song. It's a rap song, just like the last one was a rap song. This is describing some very sick behavior, some very anti-peaceful solution behavior, right? Now, let's look at the next one, because this next one is a country song. Quote, Wanda started getting abused. She put on dark glasses and long sleeve blouses and makeup to cover a bruise. Well, she finally got the nerve to file for divorce. She let the law take it from there. But Earl walked right through that restraining order and put her in intensive care. Right away, Mary Ann flew in from Atlanta on a red-eye midnight flight. She held Wanda's hand as they worked out a plan, and it didn't take them long to decide. That Earl had to die. Goodbye, Earl, those black-eyed peas, they tasted all right to me, Earl. You're feeling weak. Why don't you lay down and sleep, Earl? It ain't dark, wrapped up in that tarp, Earl. Or ain't it dark, wrapped up in that tarp, Earl? Yeah, because they poisoned Earl, and they killed Earl, and they took him and dumped him in a lake. This is a woman singing this, by the way. Women singing it. It's a country music song, very popular. So popular, they made a t-shirt that says, some of y'all don't know what happened to Earl, and it shows. Those black-eyed peas tasted all right to me, Earl. This is what's being sung. These are popular songs. This isn't some obscure song that no one's heard. This is popular music. This is country music right here. Let's look at another country music song. Let's go to the next slide. I dug my key into the side of his pretty little souped-up four-wheel drive, carved my name into his leather seats. I took a Louisville Slugger to both headlights, slashed a hole in all four tires. Maybe next time he'll think before he cheats. And I can just imagine, all the girls at the bar with their tall neck drinks. Yeah, you go, girl! Right? This was a #1 country song and the video of the year. I don't remember what year it was. Now, if you did that in real life, if the guy didn't have self-control and you destroyed his car and he came and did something very harmful to you, if you got hurt or you lived, you would go to jail or you would have to pay restitution for destroying someone's property, right? But this was a #1 song. Let me ask you a question. You can take the slide down. Let me ask you a serious question. I don't care if you're 5 years old, you're 15 years old, you're 25 years old, you're 35, you're 105. Answer me seriously. Do you think that you can listen to that you just heard and it doesn't have any effect on your attitude, your behavior, or your choices? Can you honestly tell me, can you look me in the eye right now and tell me that those lyrics that you just heard don't have any effect on the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you act? Well, you could probably look me in the eye and tell me that if you weren't educated in what the peaceful solution character education lays out and unfolds piece by piece, little by little, bit by bit, as you go through the information. You might tell me, like, one of my family members told my sister, you might be able to say, it's not affecting me, Mom. You're wrong. Even though everyone else can see it, that it's affecting you, you might not see that it's affecting you. You know why? Because you fooled yourself. Because you want to do it so badly that you just ignore what is taking place. Because you want to justify doing what you're doing. We're going to talk about that. Now, let's go to page 133. Know the difference, it says. Have you ever heard of the age of accountability? This simply means that although you are not yet an adult, you have arrived at an age where you are responsible for what you think, say, and do, and for the decisions you make. Knowing the difference between positive and negative influences can help you make choices that you will not regret. I'm going to stop right there for a minute because there's something very key coming up. Let's go to the next slide. Now, this quote from the Peaceful Solution says, negative influences become part of your subconscious mind. Those things, those lyrics that you just saw, or the songs that you hear, I don't care what songs they are, they all become a permanent record, a permanent recording in your subconscious mind. You cannot get rid of them. Now, you can forget about them for a while and they can become suppressed because you can fill your mind with the Peaceful Solution and you can push that down really, really far where you might not even remember it until one day all of a sudden something triggers it. And all of a sudden you remember a certain lyric or a certain song and you're like, man, where'd that come from? I haven't heard that song in 20 years. Well, guess what? Your subconscious mind, it's still there. It's lying dormant. Once you put it in, you can't get it out. That's why it's important. The Peaceful Solution told us, be careful what you're going to put in, because once you write it in there, you can't erase it. You can't erase it. It's done deal. Now, here's a couple popular songs. This one says, what I don't know won't hurt me. That song came out in 1970. And then in 1988, along comes another singer with a song called What You Don't Know Won't Hurt You. You're probably influenced by that guy in that first record, right? You might have heard that first record and thought, yeah, I heard that one time. I heard that saying, what I don't know won't hurt me. You ever heard that? What you don't know won't hurt you? You know how stupid that is? Somebody knows how stupid that is. I'm not saying anybody's stupid. I'm saying you know how stupid that saying is. Let's go to the next slide. I'll show you somebody that knows how stupid that is. And he actually gives the same explanation I give, but he used different wording. This is Dave Ramsey. He's a financial guru you can listen to on the radio. He actually talks about finances and he's the one that come up with that phrase, act your wage, right? He says that stupid saying, what you don't know can't hurt you, is ridiculous. What you don't know can kill you. If you don't know that tractor trailer trucks hurt when hitting you, then you can play in the middle of the interstate with no fear. But that doesn't mean you won't get killed. You might think in your mind that it's not bringing any harm to you. You're sadly mistaken. What's what we don't know that's hurting us. It's what we don't know that's bringing harm to us and even killing us in some cases. Knowledge is power, remember? Knowledge is the ability to know, to have information of what brings harm and what doesn't bring harm. Now, not all knowledge out there, not all facts is true, right? So you got to make sure that you get the true facts. But the knowledge is important. All knowledge is important, because even if it's false knowledge, okay, in other words, knowledge that's of no benefit, it's still going to help you to know, well, that's false knowledge and that's not true. You're going to be able to know the difference between the negative and the positive, or the truth and the lie. It's important to know things. It's important to be aware. Awareness, enlightenment, education is important on both spectrums of the positive and the negative. You got to have both. You got to be educated to know what to avoid. You know, I remember the author one time, years ago, he gave this really great story, and I never forgot it. It was at a Peaceful Solution conference, and he told us a story about that same thing about what you don't know won't hurt you. And he said when he was growing up in Oklahoma, they used to churn the butter. You know, he grew up in the 30s in the Dust Bowl in Oklahoma, and they used to make their own butter. You know, they had a butter churner. I don't know exactly how they did it, but if you can show the next slide, there's a woman there on the right. Is that the right or the left? The left. She's churning butter on her porch there. It's an old picture. Looks like it might be from the 30s. And he told us a story about a mouse. I want you to hear this right here. Listen closely. It says a mouse got into a woman's butter. So she took it to the store and told the grocer man, what you don't know won't hurt you. Can you put this back there and you sell it to someone else and give me some to take its place, because that was the last pound of butter I had. He said, you're right. So he took it back there, rewrapped it, brought it back to her and says, you're right. What you don't know won't hurt you. I only hear one person laughing, so that means only one person got it. It actually is it's a great illustration of how stupid that saying is. This woman thought, well, the mouse got in my butter and they got droppings in my butter. So she took it to the grocer and said, hey, a mouse got into my butter. You know, what people won't know won't hurt them. Can you just take that back there and give me a new, that was the last pound of butter I had. So he said, yeah, you're right. So he took it back there, wrapped it up, and brought her the same butter and said, you're right. What you don't know won't hurt you. Now, she didn't know it was the same butter, so I guess it won't hurt her, right? It won't hurt her that there was rat droppings in that butter, right? When she eats it, it won't hurt her? Everybody likes that, right? This is the attitude of a lot of people in the world, what you just read right there. You know how I know that? They do the same thing in the grocery stores. You know, I can give you countless instances. One of them, I remember reading about what they do with the meat. You know, the meat in the market starts to go bad, they don't sell it. So they're like, it starts to look kind of old. So they go, well, let's take that in the back and let's hit it with some carbon dioxide, and let's put some dye in there to make it pink again. And let's put it back, we'll rewrap it and put it back out there with a new date on it. Because what they don't know won't hurt them. After all, we got to make this money, right? We can't lose. We're not going to throw that chicken away. We can sell that chicken or that steak, right? What they don't know won't hurt them. Yeah. You don't think that's going on in a lot of cases, folks? Remember, people aren't being taught the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. They're making some bad choices. And guess what? If you're not on your toes, you might fall into that trap. You might go and buy that same meat, not knowing what I'm telling you right now. Now, I remember when I was, I would say 15, 16, 17 is when I really started thinking this way. Show the next slide. I want to see how many of you thought this way. I used to think, don't show me or tell me if I'm doing something wrong, because if you show me or tell me what I'm doing wrong, then I'll be accountable or responsible for what I do. Have you ever thought that to yourself? Somebody starts telling you a truth, And you're like, oh, I don't want to hear that. No, no, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that, because if you tell me that, then I'll know, and then I won't be able to do it anymore. No, don't tell me that no more. I used to actually do that, and I would plug my ears. I didn't want to hear it. Don't tell me that. Why didn't I want to know it? Because I wanted to continue what I was doing without being bothered by what that person told me about the facts, the true facts. I didn't want to be bothered with that. So don't tell me about it, because if you tell me about it, then it'll be ringing in my ears when I do it. You know, you teachers in the Peaceful Solution, you future teachers and you teachers, you know what I'm talking about. Your students tell you, sir, what you told me rings in my ear every time that situation comes up. I remember what you said. And you know what? You can either reject it or you can remember it and actually do it. But it's your choice. It's your choice. It's our choice what we do. Go to the next slide, because I put up the next part of page 133 because it's so key to what we're learning tonight. This is so key, very key to understand. It says, if you make a poor choice because of how you allow yourself to be influenced, and you choose not to follow values as you learn from the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program, you will have no one to blame but yourself, because you are at the age of accountability. You're accountable. I don't care if you're the youngest child here right now learning the Peaceful Solution. Guess what? You're accountable. You're accountable because you're being taught. You have an obligation to remember what you're being taught and actually put it into practice. Don't sit there and, don't be like I was, I remember what that teacher said, but you know what? Maybe he was wrong. Let me just try it. It shouldn't hurt to do it once. Why do we have to learn by experience? Because guess what? The Peaceful Solution, it's already telling you about everyone's experience. So why do you have to live it yourself? Why do you have to go through that bad experience of drug addiction? Why do you have to go through that bad experience of STDs? Why do you have to go through that bad experience of landing in jail because you assaulted someone because you couldn't control your fists? Why do we have to experiment with that? Why do we have to go through that when we're already given the examples right here of other people that have tried the same thing and it's never worked? It never will work. This is very key. Remember this. If you make a choice, a poor choice, because you allow yourself. Remember, if you're listening to this music with those kind of lyrics, you can take the slide down. It's okay. If you're listening to that kind of music or you're playing violent video games, whose choice is that? Whose choice is it? It's your choice. It's our choice. We're choosing to do it. Now, if we're choosing to do it, guess what? We're going to suffer consequences whether we know or whether we don't. Doesn't matter. Whether we know it's going to bring harm later on or whether we don't, doesn't matter. It's still going to bring harm. Remember? It doesn't matter if you know a Mack truck hurts you when you get hit. Even if you don't believe it'll hurt you, well, you get hit by it, you're going to get hurt. Doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. It's a fact. It's a true fact that if you get hit, even if you don't know that car's coming, if you don't know what you don't know won't hurt you, even if you don't know that car's coming and it hits you, it's still going to hurt you. Doesn't matter if you know it or not. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of times, a lot of people say they don't know something was harmful or they don't think something's harmful, but they know deep inside that it is. They know that it is. They know that it is. You can't look at those lyrics that I showed you and tell me that that's not harmful in any way. That that's not harmful to you to listen to that. that's not harmful to your attitude, your behavior, and what comes out in your actions and attitudes, that you might not even realize you're being influenced. You're not even realizing that it's what's been stored in here that's actually causing you to respond in the way you're responding. I want to talk a little bit about the word know, okay? The word know and knowledge. Let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about knowledge. Knowledge is information, understanding, or skill that you get from education in the Peaceful Solution Character Education program. By gaining the knowledge of these true facts, and even false facts, you're experiencing the process of learning to make peace. You're actually, you notice I put the word knowledge and understanding together there because they're both together in this book. Actually, what you're reading in this book right here is a combination of three things, which we're going to look at here, and we're going to go in depth in it in the last few minutes here, but you're looking at knowledge, understanding, and wisdom combined all in this book right here. It's in this book. It's in these pages. It's written in black and white in this book. Now, Chris told you in the last class, he said wisdom is putting these things that you learn in the Peaceful Solution into practice. So I'm going to explain what I mean here when in just a moment. Now, understanding is learning the correct organization and application of the true facts you learn in the Peaceful Solution Character Education program. It's like putting together a puzzle, knowing where each piece fits to see the bigger picture. Remember, you're learning piece by piece by piece by piece by piece, here a little and there a little as you go along, and you're getting all this information. You're getting the knowledge. You're getting the information. You're getting how to apply that information, the practical application of that information. Like here's how you would apply it in this situation, etc. And here's the kind of results you can expect to get if you do it this way. And if you do it this way, here's the result you might get doing it this way. It's showing you everything already. It's not leaving any room for doubt. It's not giving you a bunch of facts and then just leaving you on your own to figure out, well, what will occur if I do that? It's already telling you what's going to take place. It's giving you the understanding. It says, to know the how, the why, the correct application, and the intent of the knowledge you gain and why and how it's important. Without understanding, all you're going to have is information and random facts. So the understanding is shown in here and how these things are applied and how to use them and what the result will be, whether it's a consequence or a reward. Wisdom is consistently making right decisions by applying the knowledge and understanding found in the Peaceful Solution Character Education program and teaching others to do the same. That's wisdom. Okay? Now, but knowledge, understanding, and wisdom are all found in this book. Go to page 13, XIII. It's Roman numeral 13 in your book here. I want to show you something here from the author, the preface, and it's entitled Influence from the Teacher, because we influence people. Remember? We're influencing other people as teachers. And we can be a positive influence by teaching the Peaceful Solution Character Education program, but also gaining knowledge ourselves, from the Peaceful Solution, and gaining facts and information, true facts and information to help make these things real in people's minds, to show them the application or, how these things actually work in the real world. People have to know this. You can't just read the book. You've got to also pepper it with the facts, with other true facts along with it. Or examples from real life, like I'm showing you right now. Now, It says on the, I think it's the fourth, fifth paragraph, it says a morally sound, wise, caring teacher can help 1, 10, or 10,000 students on their way to becoming morally sound, wise, caring adults. Reading the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program to any student will mean a lot. Influencing the student with the personal determination to leave the classroom with the wisdom and knowledge found in these books will mean everything in the student's life. Notice he says wisdom is found in this book. Yes. You know why wisdom is found in this book? Because it shows you, put the slide back up, that last slide, please. It shows you the practical application in action. It shows you examples of people actually following the peaceful solution. That's wisdom. So the wisdom is shown in here. And if you follow that same example that the ones that are making the right choices are following, that's true wisdom. Now, people that aren't being taught the peaceful solution, they also use the word wisdom. They think it's wise to split atoms and make nuclear weapons. Wow, that's pretty smart. You got to be a wise person to do something like that. To be able to, get to the center of something that you can't even see, that you have to magnify, 50,000 or 100,000 times and extract the power from the nucleus of that particular atom and make an explosion. Man, that takes a wise person to do something like that. That is not the wisdom. That is not true wisdom. True wisdom is finding a way to make peace with your neighbor so you don't have to use a nuclear weapon. Right? That's why it says knowledge. That's why it says, if you can put the slide back up at that knowledge definition, it says, by gaining the knowledge of these true facts and even the false facts, you're experiencing the process of learning to make peace. You're learning how to make it peace. You're not learning how to make war in the peaceful solution. You're learning how to avoid war. Now, guess what? One of the ways to avoid war is to stop listening to, I had to put a slug in her. I had to put a slug in her. You know what a slug is? It's a bullet from a weapon. That's murder. That's murder. You're singing about murdering someone. That's not the peaceful solution. That's the opposite. That opposes what we teach. Students, there's no room for this. There's no room for this in our lives. We cannot partake of these things and pretend in our mind that somehow we're following the peaceful solution. We're not going to have a result that's going to end well unless we stop it. We've got to put these things out of our life. We've got to start believing what we're reading here. Okay? Because these are true facts. You can count on this. And everybody that reads this, I've talked to many people. Nobody can deny the contents in these books. Nobody can deny that this works if you use it. It works if you use it. Yeah, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power, but knowledge is only knowledge unless you actually apply it. You've got to use it. You've got to take the knowledge and the understanding, and you've got to be wise and apply it in every situation. Otherwise, it's just information. It's power, but you can only see that power if you use it. Okay? So I encourage everyone here to, let's take here's something that you can do. It's an exercise you can do. Thinking about influences, and subtle influences. Just sometime this next couple days before the next class, just sit there for a few moments, just for a couple minutes, and just listen to all the sounds around you. Just be quiet in your own mind. Just meditate for a couple minutes and just listen to all the sounds that are around you that you never even really recognize because you're so busy doing what you're doing. Sit there And just for a couple moments, just listen to all the sounds. And you'll start to get an idea of how many things that are going into your mind that you don't even realize every second of the day. And it's all being stored in your subconscious, and it's a permanent part. It's a permanent record. It's not going anywhere. So let's make sure that what we put in our minds is the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program, and it conforms to this standard of the Peaceful Solution in everything that we do. The next class will be, let's see, today's the 15th, so it should be the 18th, I believe, the 18th, Sunday? 19th. 12, 19, 21 at 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. You've been a great class, and we'll see you next time.